Funding for The Art Economist is supported by viewers like you. Thank you. Picture this. It's 2012, end of the Mayan calendar. You are Andrew Hussey, creator of Homestuck, one of the most read webcomics in internet history, with a fan base that would genuinely do anything for you. You decide to make a video game. You launch a Kickstarter. You need $700,000. You hit that number in 32 hours. By the time the campaign closes, 24,346 people have given you $2.5 million. It's a simple plan. A third-party studio builds the game, it ships in 2014, you get back to the comic, and everybody is happy. That was 12 years ago. The game, HIVESWAP, is still not finished. This is the story of how you take $2.5 million, a rabid fan base, and a bulletproof IP, and turn it into one of the most spectacular development disasters in crowdfunding history. Not because anybody was incompetent, or not because the idea was bad, but because at every single decision point, the wrong thing happened, and nobody could do anything about it. We're going to go through this chronologically. It is October of 2014. You are Andrew Hussey. You have lost the better part of $1 million and 2 years of development time. The Kickstarter promised delivery in 2014. You have nothing to show. So what do? You make a game studio from scratch. What Pumpkin NYC opens in a co-working space in New York. Staff hired with no prior WP affiliation. They're all new. 12 people full-time. Hussey taps a designer who'd step up during the TOG period to lead it. The music team is locked in. James Roach, who is currently doing work on the new Homestuck comic, and Toby Fox, yes, that Toby Fox, who is actually around this same period, quietly making Undertale on the side. He will release Undertale in September of 2015 and become one of the most celebrated game composers alive. At this point, he's just on the HIVESWAP team. By early 2015, What Pumpkin NYC is posting asset reels, character models, and concept art. The game is in 3D. It looks real. It looks like a game. The target date is spring 2015, and then revised to mid-2015. And then nothing happens. The summer of 2015 passes with 0 updates. On December 25th, 2015, as a Christmas update, which is one of the choices of all time, What Pumpkin posts the news. The 3D engine is being scrapped. The art style is changing to 2D. The NYC studio is being dissolved. The team is being replaced by a fully remote, geographically decentralized operation to cut costs. What prompted this change was, as they said, the increasing time and financial demands required by 3D modeling, as well as some of the engineering issues that prompted the change. What Pumpkin NYC lasted about a year. The 3D work, the models, the engine, the infrastructure, all of it is now discarded. At this point, the project has burned through its original contractor, lost most of the contracted money, built an entire NYC studio, scrapped an entire 3D game, and dissolved the studio. It is the end of 2015. The game was supposed to ship in 2014. The new remote team rebuilds in 2D. This is actually the version of the game that exists, the one that people eventually played. And by all accounts, the team was actually quite talented. October 2016, a new trailer drops. The 2D art style looks good. It captures something. The game is submitted to Steam Greenlight and approved in December of 2016. The announced release date is January of 2017. January 2017 comes and goes. There is no game. It is pushed back for bug testing. April 13th, 2017, 4/13, the birthday of the Homestuck comic, 8-year anniversary, a significant date for the fan base, comes and goes. There is no game. September 14th, 2017, however, Act 1 finally ships. 5 years after the Kickstarter, 3 years after the promised delivery date, after 2 studio restarts and an art style overhaul in a contractor embezzlement situation and a settlement, Act 1 of a 4-act game, it is about 2 hours long. The reviews are decent. The fan base, which had been waiting half a decade, mostly receives it warmly. 2 months later, in November of 2017, What Pumpkin announces Act 2? Spring 2018. Spring of 2018 does not bring Act 2. What it does bring is this. In March and April of 2018, one by one, the core creative team that shipped Act 1 announces that they are leaving What Pumpkin. Project director Cohen Edenfield, gone. Composer Toby Fox, gone. Composer James Roach, gone. Shelby Cragg, Phil Gibson, both gone. The team that actually made the thing that shipped is out of the door within 6 months of shipping it. What Pumpkin issues a statement about a period of transition. That's it. Really, that's it. Around this time, management of the Homestuck IP itself shifts to Viz Media, and the fandom relationship with What Pumpkin, already strained after years of delays, becomes openly adversarial. This is also the period when What Pumpkin pivots to smaller releases. HIVESWAP Friend Sim, a series of visual novel spin-offs about the various characters of Homestuck, released episodically through 2018. 18 volumes, in fact. The theory is being, okay, we're going to ship smaller things while the game gets rebuilt again. Act 2 would not come out in spring of 2018. Act 2 releases in November of 25th, 2020, 2.5 years after the spring 2018 announcement, 8 years after the Kickstarter, and most importantly, after the pandemic started. It launches without credits. What Pumpkin's explanation to launching the game without credits for the people who make the game was to protect staff from targeted harassment. Team members publicly respond that they were never consulted before the decision was made. 3 days later, credits are then patched in silently. This is, in miniature, the entire HIVESWAP story. A decision made, a quiet correction with no acknowledgement, only after a fallout, and we repeat this indefinitely. As of right now, mid-2026, Act 3, titled 3-Card Monte, is projected to release in Q4 2026. As of late 2025, the script is reportedly 99% complete. The assets are nearly done. If it ships on schedule, that will be 14 years after the Kickstarter. For context, the original game was supposed to take 2 years, start to finish. What they are delivering across all 4 acts will have taken 7 times this long, and Acts 3 and 4 have not actually shipped yet. So what actually killed this project? Or, more precisely, what kept almost killing it over and over and over, and why couldn't anything intervene? The first finding is the principal-agent problem at scale. When you hire someone to build something for you, you have to trust that they're actually building it. The mechanism that enforces that trust is usually contracts, milestones, and oversight. What Pumpkin had a contract with the Odd Gentleman. What they did not have was any real mechanism to verify progress. TOG could report everything was fine for 2 years, produce a broken demo, and by the time What Pumpkin realized that the game did not exist, $500,000 was already spent on something else. This is not a unique problem. It's why professional development contracts in any industry have milestone payments, deliverable verification, and audit rights. What Pumpkin, a merch company that had never run a game development project, did not have these structures. When you back a Kickstarter, you're not buying a product. You are making an unsecured loan to an entity with no obligation to produce anything under a platform with no enforcement authority over fund usage. If the developer hires a contractor who spends the money on something else, Kickstarter cannot help you. If the developer makes bad decisions for a decade, Kickstarter cannot help you. You gave them the money. It is already gone. This isn't really a criticism of Hussey specifically. It's really more the structure. The backers were 24,000 people with no recourse, and they found out that slowly, over the course of a decade, one disappointing update at a time. The Homestuck fanbase in 2012 was one of the most intensely devoted communities in internet history. That loyalty funded the Kickstarter, $2.7 million of it, sustained interest through years of delays, and kept the project commercially viable long past the point where most projects would have collapsed. But loyalty is not infinite. The exodus of the Act 1 team in 2018, the Act 2 credits controversy, and the years of silence, each of these drew down on a finite account. The fan base that exists for HIVESWAP in 2026 is a fraction of the one that launched the Kickstarter in 2012. Not because the product is bad, but because loyalty, like capital, depreciates it when you don't maintain it. The finding is that the Kickstarter was in 2012, Homestuck ended in 2016, we are in 2026, a decade after the comic ended, there is no full version of HIVESWAP. The game that backers were promised in 2012 would have been a 2014 adventure game made by a third-party studio with modest production values. What eventually emerged, and what is still emerging, is an episodic narrative series with original music, 2D animation, voice acting, and a full secondary cast introduced via spin-off visual novels. The scope of the project expanded continuously while the budget contracted. That tension never really just resolves. HIVESWAP is not, ultimately, a story about a bad game. The episodes that exist were competent. Some of the writing was genuinely good. Toby Fox made music. It is a story about what happens when a well-funded, well-loved project has no structural safeguards at any level, no milestone verification with the contractor, no accountability mechanism for the backers, no retention structure for the talent, no scope discipline when the circumstances changed. At every stage, the people involved made the decision that made sense in the moment. Hire an established studio. Build it in-house when that failed. Go 3D because it looked better. Switch to 2D because 3D ran out of money. Ship what you have and just keep going. And the result is a game that is now approaching its 4th year of development, with 204 acts delivered, and a fan base that has aged from teenagers into their late 20s waiting for the ending. Whether Act 3 ships in 2026 is almost beside the point now. The disaster has already happened. It happened slowly, in installments, with no single villain and no moment of obvious catastrophic failure. Just a long series of wrong things happening, one after another, to people who couldn't really stop them. Like, comment, subscribe. This is the Art Economist. I will see you guys next time. Thank you.